Lord, for your people that's taken the time to be here. I pray, Lord, that you would speak to their hearts, that you would unfold their understanding, Lord, that you would not let them just hear this, but, Lord, they would hear what will be shared with them tonight, Lord, so that they may better serve you in every way. I pray, Lord, that you would anoint every heart, every ear, every mind, every spirit, and everybody in this house. Lord, I pray that you would help us to teach. I pray, Lord, that we ourselves would be anointed to hear just as they are. Help us, Lord. Somebody say, help us, Lord. And somebody say, in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. I'm going to be up and down and in and out. I feel much better than I did preaching today, which is weird because I thought I would have a headache, just a sinus infection and all, but I've actually had a pretty good bit of energy. So we're not going to be terribly long, but we're not going to be terribly short. So dig in there with us and help us. I want to first of all say, I know it's just me and David up here. Originally, this was a big-time team effort with the fellas, Robert and Earl. But just for tonight's live teaching, I thought me and David would just hold it down, and they were totally cool with that. But they offered so much insight to this on the podcast version, and this is going to be different than the podcast version. That I thought me and David would just simplify it because it's a lot. My head's already hurting trying to make sure that I get to the things that I want to get to organization-wise. My job, why are we doing this? It's my job as laid out by Scripture is to feed sheep as the shepherd. Now, I understand that you might be here and I'm not your pastor. You have a pastor. And then you have to decide how well of a job he's doing that. But for the people of the sanctuary, my job is to feed sheep. Now, I can feed my kids. And I can just feed them any old thing. This goes back to the pastoral line that I've been talking about. I can feed them junk, and I'm talking spiritually here. I can get up and preach and say some stuff, and you say you were fed and be malnourished. And just because somebody's up talking to you doesn't mean that they're feeding you. It's what they're feeding you that has to matter. So I'm here tonight for sheep. I'm here tonight so that when you leave here, you would have knowledge and understanding. My people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. That you'll have knowledge and understanding that you can put in a day-to-day application that will help you overcome. Pat you on the back, say, I'm praying for you, and say, I fed you. What I feed you? What I feed the sheep? Ragweed? I fed them. So this is very, very important to me because your health, not that you just come, not that you just worship, not that you just give, that's all important. But what's big time important to me is your health on Monday and your health on your mental health, your spiritual health, and even your physical health. If you're sick and I'm the shepherd, if the sheep's sick and the shepherd finds that he's got wounded, he got sick sheep running around all over the pasture, what's his responsibility to go do? Is to go help them get better and then find out what's making them sick. And I don't want you to just be sheep. I want you to be healthy sheep. I want you to be sheep that are thriving and flourishing and reproducing and are happy. That's why we're doing these things, and that's why we're going to cover this tonight. So so let me get started. That's just a personal note from me. In our Bible, there is a huge war of food. It's big time. It's front to back and cover to cover if you just really read it slow. How much Scripture deals with food, the do's, the don'ts, the goods, the bad. I'm not just talking about Levitical law. And I don't want to step on any of David's stuff, and we might end up stepping over each other, and that's all right. We could all stand to hear some things more than once. I mean, the fall of man at the garden involved what? We don't get out of the gate good until man is being tempted with food. And by the time you get to Revelation and her fine flour, her wine, her oil, food, her merchants, Food by the time, it's from, and everywhere in between. You get Paul talking about food that is offered to demons. And you get Levitical law saying stay away from certain foods. And there's a reason for all that. And I'm not going to get in the weeds on all that. I'm just saying that food is a really big deal. And our goal tonight is, what we're trying to do tonight is we're trying to show you the spiritual aspect of food. The spiritual aspect. Look at the person sitting next to you and say, the spiritual aspect of food. We want to show you that you are literally under attack from the spirit world in something that we view as normal. So lock in there. David, you got anything you want to add there as far as what this is and what we're doing?
Yes. Just over the past 50 years, the way we have processed food and grown food and made food readily available to consumers has changed drastically. It's gone from naturally grown and farmed to genetically modified and processed. So tonight,
come on.
We're
not doing that. Come on.
Tonight we need to understand that when Brother Adrian speaks of the spirit world involvement and the spirit world's play in our food, there's some things that have been done over the years, and we're going to cover some of that so you can see the spiritual aspect of it and how the food itself has been attacked.
I mean, what our intent is our intent is to educate and arm, and maybe even wake some of you up. And that's what it took. That's what it took personally for me to even get into the fight. Not that I've won the fight, not that I'm anything like that, is that it took this to wake me up personally and wake you up to the fact that our struggle isn't with just ourselves and our food. I can't tell you how many times I sit and 3 or 4 years ago, and maybe even by myself, said out loud, but for sure in my mind, that I was going to commit suicide by eating. That I was literally going to eat myself to death. Nobody really knows what that means except for the people that live in my house. And because can't nobody do it like me. And I know you think you can, but you can't. And I was miserable. And I was like, I'm going to die eating, and I'm going to die because of eating. And I can't stop. I just can't stop. I eat when I'm tired. I eat when I'm happy. I eat when I'm sad. And I can't stop. No matter what, I can't even string 5 or 6 days together to do this. And I'm like, how does somebody like him do what he does? And how can he have the willpower? And I don't. And it took me personally understanding that my struggle was not just with myself or with the food, because Adrian is flesh and blood. And Scripture literally says that we wrestle not with flesh and blood. So I was fighting something that was way bigger than just Adrian's habits or Adrian's desires, or I was fighting the food itself. We'll get to there in a moment. I need y'all to see this literally tonight, okay? I don't want you to see this as some symbolic fight we're trying to unfold to you. I need you to see this as hand-to-hand combat every day. Because listen, if you don't, you're going to literally see it when you're sitting in the doctor's office. I might get a little punchy tonight. That's all right. I love you. I'm fighting for you, not with you. If you don't see this fight at the dinner table as literal, you're going to see it sitting at the doctor's table literal. So, we're constantly sick. We're constantly inflamed. If you don't see it literal, your joints will tell you that it's literal. Your immune system will tell you that it's literal. It's a literal fight every day. David, you think?
Yeah, so, and keeping in mind as we go through some of this information and we cover some of these topics, that we all know that the devil's main purpose is to deceive us. To deceive the world, to put out false information. He's the father of lies. So when it comes to how the food industry and the way our food has been manipulated, you're going to hear a lot of half-truths, a lot of lies that have been told over the years that have gotten us to the point of where we are with our food. But like Brother Adrian said, I know some of the other topics that we cover pertain to, the pornography addiction, some of the other specifics, the thoughts of suicide, anxiety. There's parts of the population that affects and parts that it don't. This affects us all. This affects every one of us in the room, because tomorrow you're going to get up and have breakfast or eat lunch, whatever the case may be with your food intake. We're all going to eat something tomorrow. So the battle with food, it affects us all.
We're going to go back and forth, and I've been saying, David, you got anything? And I know he does, because that's how we scheduled it. We don't know what we don't know what each other is going to say, but we're just going to go back and forth after every point. And by the time we get done with this, you'll see why. Now, we want to take just a minute here, because we planned all this out. We want to take just a minute here, because that's what we told you what this was. I want to take a minute here and tell you what this is not, just so you can try to pair what this is not with what this is in a literal sense. Before we get into the weeds, this is not a health and fitness talk. Now, we're going to cover some of that on the back end. This is not a health and fitness conversation. This is not some shallow little TED talk here that we're having, and it's not a lecture. This is not, this applies to you whether you're lean or whether you're overweight, whether you're muscular or whether you're not. Because you can be lean as all get out and still be unhealthy. And I do. I envy people that can eat all they want to and still say lean. Adrian is not one of them. I can look at biscuits and gain 2 pounds. I can hear myself gaining weight. And then there's some people that can just sit there and smash them. And I don't understand how all that works. All I know is this is not about your ego or your body. This is about your spirit. Okay? I want to make sure we're clear that. This is about you having life and having life more abundantly. This is about you overcoming and fighting in the spirit world through servanthood. This is not a trivial thing. Okay? This is not about any of those things that it's just not. This is about how spiritual health, that if you will get spiritually healthy in this arena, that by default, it will translate into your physical health. So I just ask you to listen and hear us through the ears of the Spirit and not the ears of your body composition.
I asked him if we could all do burpees, and he said no. So, your turn.
That was not in our plans. Matter of fact, if you look burpees up in the Hebrew, it means Baal. And if you don't know what burpees are, well, God bless your soul. Because I'm not going to do them. You know what burpees are at his gym? To me, push-ups. Something that's going to do some good. Scripture says in John chapter 10, if you want to write this down or turn there with me real quick, John chapter 10, verses 7 through 10. Then Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. And all that have ever come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. And I am come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Well, we like that verse of Scripture. Man, the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And I have been in enough recovery places for addicts, and I have been in enough church services to know that all of that is linked to pornography. It's like he said a while ago, and he was leading up to it. It's linked to all of the big sins. And I always kind of had a problem with it because I never talked about this, I didn't feel like I was qualified to even have this conversation with anybody, not even as a pastor, because who wants to listen to a guy stand up there and say you need to be healthy and get yourself together when he weighs 320 pounds? And so we take this kill, steal, and destroy, and we put it on everything, but there's no specific plan in this that is given away of how they plan to kill, steal, and destroy, which means it can embody all things. So, we've used this for anxiety, we've used it for depression, and we've used it for alcohol and pornography and suicide, but oftentimes that the ploy of food is missed. Well, what's the number one killer in America right now? What? Heart disease. What is the number one reason for a heart disease? Food. We've overlooked the food aspect of being killed. Well, first of all, to kill, but to steal. They've stole our good health. They've stole our mobility. They're stealing our minds and our ability to cognitively function properly because of diets. We'll get there in a minute. So there's the stealing. And then they've killed us. We're literally going into early graves because of the diet. And we're also being destroyed. And again, that's the stuff that I can stand here 30 minutes just talking about 3 words right there of how they've destroyed us, and it's all happened with food, and I'm all on board with the pornography addictions and substance abuse addictions and suicide and all that, but this right here may be bigger than all of them. But we don't look at it that way. And when you see it in those lenses, it helps you get up every day to understand that we're killing ourselves slowly, but it's normal. But at the end of the day, it's really no different than the addict, if I may put it that way. So you got a food problem. I mean, who in here, don't raise your hand, but who's got a food problem? I'm talking about a real food problem. Like you just can't. Well, how'd that happen? Remember back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, the advent of the camera, if they took a picture of somebody on the beach, everybody looked rail thin. You ever seen an old picture of your grandmother, or grandfather when they were younger? And everybody was thin. And somewhere about the 70s or 80s, probably in the 80s, they don't look like they did back in the 40s. Because now, everybody just started getting a little bigger. Y'all know what I'm talking about? They know what I'm talking about. In the 60s, along with everything else that changed, the sexual revolution, the use of alcohol, the pornography, all the things that changed, in the 60s, we were invaded with our food. Now, I don't have a lot on this. David's got the majority on it, but what I have, I'd like to take a moment and I'd like to share. In the 1960s and 70s, the world wheat crop was transformed through what was called the Green Revolution. And it was a movement that involved the development of new wheat varieties and the use of technology. One of the men that spearheaded, his name was Norman Borlaug, the father of the Green Revolution, and he developed a semi-dwarf wheat varieties that could grow in harsh environments. His work increased crop yields and helped fight global hunger, earning him a Nobel Peace Prize in 1970, all because he figured out a way to change the way wheat was grown. It was called in the 80s. Well, in the 80s, it was called I don't even like pairing that word with it, transgenic wheat. Work began on the first transgenic wheat, which was created using a recombinant DNA techniques. Now what we're talking about is genetically modified food. Transgenic wheat lines have higher grain yields and more nitrogen in the aerial parts of the plant. In companies like DuPont and Monsanto, these companies propagated the new farming technologies around the world. Then they started lying to us by saying that our wheat is not genetically modified, but our wheat for consumption is genetically modified, but they hid it behind the term modern wheat. So now there's 2 different categories of wheat, because wheat, you know how much wheat touches your diet in some way, shape, or form right now? Like bread wasn't always bad. Matter of fact, there's a recipe in the Bible for bread. Bread wouldn't always kill you. So what's the first thing the doctors or anybody that's paying attention now, what's the first thing you got to get off of? Bread. But why? It ain't the bread. The bread's made from the wheat. And the wheat that God made's not the problem. It's the wheat that they're using now that they made. That's the problem. So they changed it. They changed it from the ancient form. That's what online calls it, the ancient form of wheat too. And they hid it behind it's modern wheat. Well, so ancient wheat remains closer to wild origins, having never undergone intensive large-scale hybridization. Examples include einkorn, emmer, and spelt. Modern wheat is a complex, high-yielding, and heavily bred dwarf variety developed in the 1950s to be short for easy harvesting. I just read that. Here's the nutritional information on it. In ancient grains, in ancient wheat, it packed a huge wallop. That's their word, in quotational, wallop. Now, who would ever think of wheat packing a huge wallop? Not me. But what God makes packs wallops with intent. Ancient wheat. It had more protein, more fiber, and more minerals. And they also tend to have higher concentration of antioxidants and carotenoids. That's ancient wheat. That is nowhere close to what we have now. So then there was this lady. Now you're going to hear some Scandinavian names. Did you know that, and I don't even understand this, that most of our food issues originate in the Scandinavian part of the world? Is that right? I know you're waiting your turn. I'll be there in a minute. You shouldn't have brought burpees up. Her name was Anna Britt Agsater, however you say that in Swedish or Dutch. She was no, we don't want Robert to say it. She was an educator. Listen, I'm going somewhere with this. We're going somewhere. For the Swedish Grocery Cooperative, she developed the first food pyramid in 1973. And in 1992, the USDA introduced its own version of the pyramid, but it was birthed in the 70s over in the Scandinavian region. Now, I want to point something out to you that is profound about the food pyramid, okay? Are you ready? It's a pyramid. I wish I could laugh when I say that. The most ancient symbol of darkness under the sun. It's on your dollar bill. Go pull a dollar bill out and look at it. You know what they got there? You know that little eyeball that's right above it? The Eye of Horus? It's a pyramid. Now, I got that out and said it how I wanted to. That wasn't acting. So you know what RFK walked to the podium about 2 months ago and did? This ain't about politics. He said, we are flipping the pyramid upside down. First of all, do you understand the spiritual ramifications of turning a pyramid upside down? And then, if you didn't really know what was in the pyramid, it was taught to you, so it seemed normal because the people teaching us, they're supposed to be on our side. And the pyramid goes down, and it's got these little sections in it, and then the biggest part's at the bottom. And up at the top, listen, two to three servings a day of milk, yogurt, and cheese. 2 to 3 servings a day of meat, poultry, fish, dry beans, and eggs. 3 to 5 servings a day of vegetables. 2 to 4 servings of fruit. And at the bottom, 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta. Now, take that and understand that most of that is made with a genetically modified version, not of what God made of this. And now we are 6 to 11, 3 and 4 times likely to consume food that God was not made for us to eat. Their food, her food. And all it does is constantly spike our insulin. and we get what is called insulin resistance. Now, you've heard of it. Most of you don't know you have. And ultimately, it's metabolic syndrome. You know some of the symptoms? You know some of the symptoms of being insulin resistant? That's where your body has made insulin for so long and so long and so long and so long that your body no longer reacts to insulin, so you just keep putting fat on. Here's some of the issues with becoming insulin resistant. Type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, that's where your whole metabolism is just shot, which is probably what I had. Cardiovascular disease, there's the number one. Fatty liver disease, now the liver can't flush and clean the body like it's supposed to, and it's fat. And then for ladies, polycystic ovary syndrome. High insulin levels trigger increased androgen production in women, causing hormonal imbalances, and I'll get to hormones in a minute. I'm coming to you, hang on. Have you ever heard of type 3 diabetes? If you've never heard of type 3 diabetes, it is a term used to describe the theory that Alzheimer's disease is a form of neurodegenerative brain-specific diabetes driven by chronic insulin-resistant, reduced glucose metabolism, and inflammation in the brain. It is characterized by cognitive decline, memory loss, and neural death. Often linked to the AP for a gene. It's linked to a gene, but it's not officially recognized. Now, I could stand here for hours and do that. You know what we do? We eat, we get sick, and we're miserable, and we die by eating food that God didn't make. And you know why I know it's dark? Because they didn't create food. Only the dark spirit world can't create anything. They can only poison and take captive that which God made. That's what they've done.
Yes, sir. So if you want to write this scripture down to 1 Peter 5:8, kind of goes along with John 10:10. 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." So devour in Greek implies utter destruction. We use that devour verse, and you hear it a lot. It literally means utter destruction in the Greek. So those words mean things. Devour, indicating a fierce, insatiable hunger for prey. So we're talking about food, we're talking about appetites, we're talking about eating. That verse relates directly to the devil's desire and hunger and appetite for destruction. Ephesians 6:11 and 12, put on the whole armor of God that we may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So the word wiles means craftiness, deceit, or cunning strategies. So we talk about the manipulation, the taking what God made, the creation, and making it something else. So craftiness and deception, you see it in the food industry all the time. So looking, got a little God filter specific here because I thought it was pretty fascinating. In Roman mythology, first let me read this verse out of in Philippians 3:17 through 19, because it's going to tie right into the Roman God that I'm going to speak of. So Philippians 3:17 through 19. "Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them with walk as ye have us for an example." Verse 18, "For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of Christ." Verse 19, "Whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things." So in Rome at the time, when they would worship other gods, a lot of it revolved around festivals and feasts and gorging and gluttony and just eating anything and everything. That was part of the rituals of the worship. There's a Roman goddess named Ceres, Ceres, Roman goddess of food, specifically overseeing agricultural, grain, and the harvest, specifically bread. Often identified with the Greek goddess Demeter, She was vital for ensuring food production, with her name synonymous with cultivated grain. So, ceres in English is the English word cereal. That's where we get the word cereal. So here today, there's a statue of Ceres in Chicago, in Chicago Board of Trade building. The statue itself, or the building, let me describe the building real quick. So the building, there's a 13-foot diameter clock facing one of the streets. On one side is a Babylonian holding grain. On the other side is a Native American holding corn. Similar figures are repeated at the uppermost corners of the central tower, just below the sloping roof. About 30 feet above street level, representations of bulls protrude directly from the limestone, cladding on the building's north side and to a lesser degree on the east side, a reference to the bull market. All right, so here's the kicker. The central structure is capped by a 6,500-pound, 31-foot tall aluminum statue of the Roman goddess of grain, Ceres, holding a sheaf of wheat in the left hand and a bag of corn in the right hand. So on the top of this building is a 31-foot tower of Ceres in Chicago, on the Chicago Board of Trade building. Also in Roman mythology, a personification of hunger called Fames, F-A-M-E-S, who can arouse an insatiable appetite. So when we talk here in a minute, we'll talk about some of the things that's been added to the food. Some of the things that's been added to the food intentionally to produce hunger and appetite and cravings. That way you buy more of it, you eat more of it. It's made so that it's more, you can eat it easier, and it feels like, man, anybody ever open a bag of chips and eat just one of them? There's a reason for that. They're made that way. They're made with the salt and the sugar. They're specifically scientifically made so that you would eat as many of them as you possibly can. They're made that way on purpose. So when you look at the personification of hunger, Fames, who can arouse insatiable hunger, she was often said to be one of the several evils who inhabit the entrance to the underworld. So in a lot of the Roman writings at the time, Fames was by far labeled the worst. And that's worse than the personification that punished murderers, that punished adulterers. The Fames, with the power of making someone have insatiable appetite and hunger, was considered by far the worst. Thought that's how that ties in with what we're talking about, the way our food is done. There is in the food industry, if you again, I'm trying to try to see if words associate with different things. So Fames in the food industry is an acronym for fatty acid methyl esters. They're used in the food industry for emulsifiers and thickeners, for acts as a food grade stabilizer to improve the consistency of food products. They're used as a coating agent. So they're used on potato chips, corn chips, cheese puffs, crackers, anything cooked in a vegetable oil. It's probably got some kind of fame on it. How it ties to the Roman personification of insatiable hunger, and it's actually something that's used in the food industry to make you eat more of it. So to go along with what Brother Adrian was saying about how we got there. So in the late 50s, in 1958, a guy named Ansel Keys did a study called the 7-Country Study. And the results of that study, the reason for the study was to investigate the link between diet and cardiovascular disease. And so his results, he actually did a study on like 50 countries. He just conveniently narrowed it down to the 7 that reflected information that he wanted the report and the study's results to show. From that study, he came back and told the President Eisenhower at the time, hey, we need to eat more of that bottom of that food pyramid. Of course, the pyramid had not been built yet, but the results of his study drove the production of that food pyramid. Some of the things involved, there was a lot of grain, a lot of wheat being stored at the time, and they kind of needed a way to get rid of it. And so once they made some modifications to policy, kind of got the food pyramid out there, the wheat sales, grain sales, fly up. We've got to have more of it. You get the genetically modified versions that grows faster, can be produced faster. So that's where all that kind of ties in together. In the late 50s and 60s, there was a food additives amendment called the GRAS Act, G-R-A-S. The GRAS Act allowed food companies to bypass the FDA checks on food additives so they could provide their own proof and documentation of, hey, here's a list of additives that we're putting in the food. Our scientists say they're good. And the FDA would say, rock on, go ahead. No checks, no quality control. If their scientists and their reports and their studies showed it good, then they were good. Keeping in mind that these scientists and these researchers were paid by the food companies to conduct the research and to conduct the studies themselves. So again, unregulated food additives being put in our food, not going through government checks at all. Yes. So when you look at what that GRAS Act did, you got, again, letting them do their own studies. A lot of these food additives are made from, the original ones were made from coal tar, a byproduct of the coal industry. They had nothing to do with that waste. So scientists figured out, hey, we can use this, mix it up a little bit with something else, and we can use it to coat the food with. We can put coloring in it and make it bright colors. We can make food more appealing to you by making it bright and pretty. A product that they can put on to make it look ripe and stay looking ripe for longer. So that's where you see the food was unregulated by the FDA, and these companies just started putting them in there. But again, 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s rolled through. You got all this coming into play, all these policies being allowed to happen. You got all the additives being put in the food. Their biggest concern is how much I can sell, how much money we can make from it. And then you got the production of the food pyramid in the early 90s, and it just continued on from there.
So there was a ploy to tell us what we needed to eat. And then there was a whole ploy to tell us what we shouldn't eat. And so on the things that we did eat, that even they knew we should eat, that they pumped our meats full of hormones and antibiotics and all kind of things. And the very things that God said to eat, we were told by whoever they are in places of high authority that that's what we shouldn't be eating. They said for years that salt in your diet's what's causing your heart problems. Well, a few years ago, they was like, nah, salt ain't really the problem. It's kind of like how I was raised. You couldn't have beards. You go to hell. Now, heaven's changed its policy. By the way, I shaved mine off. I didn't even think about that. I just wanted to make sure I go to heaven. Then they said red meat. Red meat's just awful for you. Red meat will kill you. But what is the most nutrient meat under the sun? Red meat. And now the research is saying, nah, red meat's not really the problem. They said don't eat butter. But here, eat this margarine stuff that's one molecule away from being plastic. That's cool for you, but don't eat the real butter. Don't eat the eggs. Remember eggs, there was a whole assault on eggs. Eggs will give you a heart attack within, if you eat 4 in a row in one day, you'll just die right there. Just call John Stevens to have your appointment made. Now, because it messes up with your cholesterol. That's what they said. Now they came out the last few years and they like, egg actually lowers bad cholesterol. And then, when they changed all of it, heart disease exploded. You didn't hear of a lot of heart disease back in the 20s and 30s, 40s. Nobody really, but when it changed, nobody really noticed why. Nobody looked around and was like, I wonder if it's the new food we're eating that's relatively new. Because the people that we thought we could trust, we couldn't trust. In reality, the reason that we got it the way that we are. I'm not even going to bring up weight gain. It is the ultimate tell-all. But I don't want anybody to feel, look, I'm one of you. Or, I'm trying not to be, but I'm one of you. It's because we were eating what they told us to eat. And it was a lie. Now, let me ask you something. They were lying to us. They knew they were lying. They knew what they did. Who's the father of lies? Oh, but that only applies to what? See how we compartmentalize certain scriptures? Kill, steal, and destroy, the father of lies. And yet, we'll spend millions as a church, not to mention a society, helping those that are addicted to substances, and then let people stay unarmed and unhealthy when it comes to being addicted to food. And it's all fighting in the same spirit world. You know why? Because there's people here that you struggle with substances that I've never struggled with, and I will never struggle with. I'm not tempted to do meth. There's people in this room that have been addicted to meth. So they're not going to come at me with that. I can walk off from that. They're going to come at me with them little Debbie cake zebra logs. And I know that's funny, but I am as serious as I can be. And for some people, that is just as big a problem. Oh, well, it ain't as serious. Oh, yeah, both of them will kill you deader than a hammer. Both of them will put you in an early grave. Both of them kill, both of them steal, and both of them destroy. So you know what happened? When because we quit eating this stuff, we plummeted. Our vitamin level plummeted. Our mineral level plummeted. It plummeted our hormones. Like our hormones are shot. Ladies, hormones are shot. Men, there's men, I know men in their 30s whose testosterone is tanked. We've got young ladies who are I don't know how to say that, just getting their, I'm just saying, they're getting their periods at 9, 10 years old. All these chemicals, and then we don't go out in the sun. Here, put these chemicals on you to keep you from being out in the sun. And we don't get vitamin D. So between the insulin spikes that are always there and the mineral and vitamin deficiency, now we walk around with brain fog, weakened immune systems, chronic sicknesses, and I got something to say about that on healing later on. And we're trying to hurry along, but you got to hear this because, and it's all because of the food that we're eating. How many, don't raise your hand, how many deal with chronic fatigue and chronic brain fog? And it's like you can't even. So what do? Well, we got to go spend money now to feel better because they're going to give us medicine that's going to heal us after they sold us the food that made us sick. There's the money side of it because it all goes back to money. Mass production and money. That's why Hermes and Asclepius go hand in hand in the medical field. And if you don't believe me, go look on the ambulance. It's the rod with one snake around it. That's Asclepius, the Greek god of healing. In Rush Hospital, there's a statue of Hermes, 2 snakes around the rod. It's right, the god of trade and commerce and finance. And now, what's multi-million and billion-dollar industries? Food and healthcare. For the love of money is the what? Yeah, but let's not confine that to the pastor on TV you don't like. Confine that to the medical system and the agricultural system and but we're not taught to see it that way. I wasn't either. I'm not on a high horse. That's why I want you to eat in good pastures, both spiritually and literally.
Money thing. So in March 2007, the world's largest seed company and the world's largest chemical corporation announced a $1.5 billion collaboration. So now you got the largest seed manufacturer with collaborating with the largest chemical producer to produce seeds that are chemically resistant. Video going around of RFK talking about the Roundup Ready corn. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but if not, you need to Google it. Roundup Ready corn. So they would take the seed of the corn and inject it with a bacteria that they had proven, the scientists had proven was resistance to Roundup. This one bacteria was resistant to Roundup. So they produced seed, corn seed, that was resistant to Roundup so that they could plant the cornfields and then come in, instead of having labor and all the intensive work around the corn to keep it growing and keep it healthy, they could just swoop down and poison it with one swoop with Roundup, and it'd be fine. It'd grow. And so now you got the seed that's been injected with the bacteria. You got it saturated with Roundup, because now the Roundup don't kill, it won't kill it. So the corn itself is poisoned. They feed the corn to the cattle, grain-fed corn, grain-fed cattle. Yeah, they claim it's grain-fed, feed it chemically altered, poisoned corn, and so we figure out how we get it in the food system. That's multiple ways they get it. You either eat a product that is directly related to it, or you eat a product that ate that product itself. So the plant biotechnology market is estimated at $51 billion in 2025, with a projected $76 billion by 2030. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry between the chemicals and the seed companies, the way they're doing business now.
And if you don't think that even those things are in the most weird, oddest places, go start checking ingredients on just your little snack cakes if you enjoy them, and there's seed oils that's in them. High corn, the fructose coming from the corn. This is not a weight loss class. Again, keep it in perspective of what we're doing here. Like they know they do it. We are eating and ingesting things that God never intended the human body to ingest, and we are paying the price for it. You are paying the price for it. Our children are paying the price for it. I have paid the price for it. And we got this. Our bodies are a temple of the Holy Ghost. I don't even want to cover that line. I don't even want to take all of that and put that on it. Because we build everything else we can, the best that we can. Our houses, our hobbies, all our stuff. And then when it comes to the temple, it's just like they did in the Old Testament. They built their houses, and David said, the prophet said, we lived in cedar houses, paneled houses, and the house of the Lord lies in ruin. And we put effort and energy into everything around us in our life, and the temple of the Holy Ghost has toxins poured into it. You don't know. I'm not stomping, I'm not lecturing anybody. I'm just saying there's the truth of where we are. See, in the Bible, God wanted the temple to run a certain way. And I'm going to get to the healing line here in a minute. He wanted the temple to run a certain way. He was very specific in the Old Testament about how the temple should be run. Now our temple is our body, the temple of the Holy Ghost. And it runs a very specific way. And if you don't run it a very specific way, you pay the cost of that. Our temple was made to run on the proper things. The proper things are still available. And it's hard to break those habits, but I got to give you the spiritual side of it first. First of all, the temple was made to heal itself. Please listen to me. Okay? When he made and created this body in Genesis, he put a supernatural self-healing. So self-healing is not really self-healing. It's supernatural because God made it to do that. So if I am chronically sick, it is my body that I've put in a bad shape. My body is geared to heal itself. So now we have, when people say, Lord, and this is from a pastoral point of view, don't hold this against David. You don't want this headache, buddy. Brother Adrian, I need you to pray for me such and such, such and such. Wait a minute, hold on, let's stop there for a minute. Because you need God to heal you. Do you need a Genesis 6? Do you need a Genesis creation healing? Or do you want a New Testament healing? Because most of the prayer requests that are going on in churches right now, people are sick because of their lifestyle. Brother Adrian, pray for my blood pressure. You know God already put something in place to fix that for you, don't you? And now what good do you want God to, I'm not fussing. Come on, just think with me. You want God to heal your high blood pressure so you can leave and comfortably go keep smashing donuts and cheeseburgers? Yeah, but God said he would heal us. Yeah, in the New Testament, he healed people that had no other option. Blind people, lame people, withered arms and hands. That kind of sickness. We got a lot of sickness in the church that we want God to heal, and God's like, I've already put a mechanism in place for you to be healed. Brother Adrian, you just got to pray for me. Anxiety and depression. You know that anxiety and depression starts in the lining of the gut and gut health? That bad gut health can present itself as anxiety? What if some of you don't have anxiety and depression? You just got a bad diet. I have been there. I've had to fight that before. What if it's your insulin that is always through the roof? You know, the number one thing you can do for anxiety and depression, and I don't want to step on this, exercise. What is the one thing anxiety and depression doesn't want you to do? What was the body made to do? Move. God, all the things that we need for a lot of the healing and a lot of the issues that's going on in our church right now, in our physical bodies, most of the things can be taken care of if we would take care of ourselves better. I'm right there with you. I'm not fussing. Because God made the body to take care of the body. That's what's supernatural about us. But if I give a prayer line for who's got this going, that going on, I can stretch them out the door. Lord, heal me of this. Hey, you're the one that did it. Even the lady with the issue of blood, the Bible goes to great lengths to say that she had tried everything and couldn't. I don't like to quote Steve Harvey, but that's not a really good thing to do, but you know, some of you sick because you eat too much and you're all the time in the hospital. And I always laughed at that until I realized how much of a systemic issue we have with not only our eating habits, but the food that we eat that we don't even know is poison. I'm right there with you. I'm not on a high horse. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to arm you that there's a better life out there. David, you want to add anything to that? Okay. So how do we fight this? What time is it? 7:30, 7:26. Anything else you want to add before we roll into how do we fight this? Look, we can sit here for hours and give you what they've done. Like, it's so much that it's not even conspiracy theory anymore. It's pretty much out there. So how do we fight it? Well, first of all, spiritually, you got to take it serious. Like, it's got to be a spiritual thing. I spent years battling my weight. And there was no incentive for me to lose weight because there's nothing that I couldn't do slimmer than I could when I was bigger. I could still do all the same things. And I would cycle in. Y'all know the cycle line, right? I'd cycle in 3 or 4 months at a time trying to diet, and I'd show up to the gym, and I'd fall off the wagon and gain anything that I lost back. And last April, when all of this came about, I didn't know none of this. I felt a strong urge to get myself together. Because as Robert told me, and I'm not saying this applies to everybody, but it applied to Adrian Holly, and I was glad he said it. He said, your body had become a reflection of your soul, and he was not wrong. He was not wrong. And so I started walking. I couldn't do anything. I was 316 pounds. I started walking, and I could only do about 25, 30 minutes. My feet would kill me. And then I worked up to that, and I started wearing a weighted vest. This is before David made it cool in town. I was like, that ain't nothing. I've been doing that for 2 years now, yeah. And then I'd get to where I could do 3 or 4 miles and that, and then I was like, all my weight loss stopped. Just stopped. I mean, I went from 316 to 295 like that, and then everything stopped, and I was still logged in, and I went to the doctor. I'm like, what's going on? Check my testosterone. My testosterone was... So I got some help there, which I highly recommend you start your journey with blood work. I lost 13 pounds the next 26 days after I got on HRT. And I was like, well, I'll start doing some push-ups on the front porch. I don't really have the desire to go to the gym. I could do like 5. I am not kidding. And when I got finished doing that, I'd had to get on my knees and do like what they call lady push-ups, no disrespect. I could do 3 sets of 10 and just air squats body weight and be done. But I stayed at it till I had to add some 25-pound dumbbells. Then I went to 35 and I outgrew all that. Except about month 4 or 5, I didn't cycle out this time. Why? Because my mission was different. Because I saw what I had to do in the spirit world. And I had some big time reasons. One, I wanted to be healthy enough to preach all this stuff that I knew I was going to preach. 2, I wanted to impress my wife a little bit. She deserved better than what she had. And that was and I'm not kidding, that became a big motivational factor to me. But I needed a little longevity too. Because I had seen a thing. And you can't, once you see a thing, you can't act like you ain't seen a thing. Now I'm gone from suicidal thoughts and with the gun on the console, you know that story, to suicide by fork. To, oh no, you're not going to get me. Not today. So then I started going to the gym. And I'm going on 3 years, 6 days a week. And it ain't got beans to do with looking cool or trying to be cool. It's the fact that Adrian can't go back to being that guy. I can't be that for me. I can't be that for him. I can't be that for my family. And I can't be that for you. When I walk into a gym, and I'm not saying everybody's like this. I'm just telling you my story because I'm the fat one up here. When I walk in that gym, it is just as much me serving the Lord as it is in there me trying to accomplish some goal. Because I can't go back, because I'm not going to let them take me out. It may save my life one day, physically, health-wise, and literally, I don't know. I'm just saying, I know what it's like to be in that cycle to where you know you need to make a change, but you just can't. And it wasn't until I could see this as servanthood to the Lord. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect, but I got a 75% rule. I got 2 rules I live by. 75%. 75% of my eating is going to be clean. 75, at least. And I don't eat what I want until, first of all, I eat what I'm supposed to. And I find that if I eat what I'm supposed to first, I'm less likely to want some of the stuff that I want. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I got put on medication for ADHD, and I'm not ADHD, but it's also FDA approved for binge eating disorder. That's what kind of mess I was in. Because can't nobody do it like me. But I saw it in the spirit world. And that had to matter to me. So the first thing you can do is you got to take it serious and you got to take it spiritual. That one, I would rather, and I do. You want a piece of cake? Eat a piece of cake. Let's have some balance to it. Well, I'll get there in a minute too, but
I'm the skinny one. I said I'm the skinny one. You said so. Just part of my deal was I served some years in the Army National Guard, so I had to maintain a certain level of physical fitness to pass my PT test. And then once I became a commissioned officer in the Guard and I was leading troops, I had to be an example for my troops. So my fitness journey has been, my degrees in sports medicine with exercise science. So I was always involved in some type of exercise, but I maintained that level of physical fitness because I had to, and I needed to, for serving in the military. And then when we opened the gym 8 years ago, now it's become more of, I got to be an example in my own place of business. As a gym owner, I need to maintain a level of physical fitness because I'm a gym owner. Now, I'm kind of like Adrian. I'm about a 75-25, maybe some days about a 50-50 when it comes to clean eating. I like ice cream. I like all the bad stuff. So my family will tell you, I like to eat, and I eat a lot. But I was maintaining a certain level of physical fitness because I needed to, and plus I enjoy feeling good. So that's my driving forces behind it. But now it's even become more over the past couple of years. It has also driven home to me that it is a spiritual journey. It is a testament to others. And if you're, from my position, if I'm going to be an example for others physically, spiritually, in all aspects of my being, I need to try to maintain a level of physical fitness, and that involves eating healthy. I also have a family history of heart disease. My dad had 4 heart attacks before he died. My uncle died of a heart attack. Multiple aunts died of heart attacks. So my cardiologist, I started seeing him when I was 45. And I'll be 51 next month. So when I was 45, I started seeing my cardiologist. And once he realized who I was, because he treated my daddy when he was going through all his stuff for years. He's the same cardiologist that treated my dad. When he found out who I was and whose son I was and what family I come from, his very first conversation was, well, we know you're going to die of a heart attack. We're going to just try to put it off as long as we can. So that made me, all right, I really need to take this serious, and I really need to do what I'm supposed to physically, diet-wise, and maintain a healthy heart. So, but when you look at going back real quick to the food that we're taking in, the food itself is an issue. If you're eating processed food, if you're eating a lot of sugar, if you're eating the food that you know is bad for you, if you don't know it's bad for you, there's a lot of good apps out there that you can download, scan the barcode of that food. It'll tell you if it's a high inflammation food, what it's got in it. It'll tell you, man, you probably don't need to eat this, or yeah, this is probably okay to eat. So take advantage of some of the technology that's out there if you're confused about the food that's out there. But that's only a part of it. If you're making the conscious choice to eat that food, especially now that you're getting more knowledge and there's more truth out there about our food, if you're still making that choice to eat that food, then it becomes more of a self-control matter and a self-control issue. And that's where the spirit really, really has to become involved. That's where you've got to understand, and you've got to take it serious that it is a spiritual battle. If you allow yourself to not be in control of the flesh, then the Bible warns us against that the flesh will lead to destruction. And that's what it's doing to so many of us. So it is a matter of being aware of what's out there, what you can and can't eat, shouldn't eat, but also how important is it for you? One, for your own personal health, for your family. What are we feeding our kids? And we're guilty. We have not done, our due diligence, I know in my family, to focus on the food that we're supposed to be focusing on. We're guilty of it as well. But you've got to care, and you've got to make a decision. How important is this to me? How important is it to my children, to my future generations? I mentioned that my family has a history of heart disease. There is no doubt that was driven by what they were eating and stress. Yeah. Where was the stopping point? And I'm trying to make that stopping point with me, right? So we talk about, well, my daddy was that way. And you hear some people that are overweight. We just come from a big family. Big bone. Why is that? Look back. We've talked about generational curses with other issues. Overweight, obesity. Yeah, it's the same thing. If the devil is trying to steal, kill, and destroy, and you got a generational curse of overeating or eating the wrong foods, and I can make your entire family unhealthy, but you grew up and that's just how we eat. That's just what we do. That can lead to your destruction. So A generational curse with food is no different than a generational curse with alcoholism or with any other type of addiction. How about them apples?
You gotta wash them off first, get the pesticide. Last thing, I'm wrapping up, I'm done. Sure. I don't use an app. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't use one. In the research for this, yeah. What's the name of it? Yucca? Yeah. And see, there's so much technology out there, and there's multiple apps. Do a little research. If that one works great, try that one. There's several other good ones out there, and I will let you know too. The Health and Human Services website, the new one. If you're not keeping up with what RFK is doing, especially flipping the food pyramid upside down, he's posting videos. He's calling these people out. He's calling out the corporations and businesses that's been poisoning our food for decades. He's calling them out and saying what they have done is wrong. They're poisoning our food. And he's saying, this is what we're going to do now. And he's got the full support of the president, and he's moving wide open. A lot of the restrictions on additives and food colorings and stuff like that, there was been a plan through other administrations to get those taken out of our food supply, but they gave them, 2 years, 3 years, have it out by this date. RFK said, nope, we're backing all that up. You had 12 months, now you got 6 months. You had 6 months, now it needs to happen by tomorrow. So he's laying down some policy at the national level that's going to address a lot of the food industry lies, half-truths, and deceit. So he's taking care of some of that. But if you're not keeping up with that, you need to. I highly recommend it. There's a lot. Again, part of the deceit, part of the information, they like to keep your social media feed filled up with other stuff that will take you away from actually what's going on and some pertinent things. But the food and the health and human sciences approach that RFK is doing, that's good stuff, especially, again, talking about the topic we're talking about tonight. It's real, it's relevant. Eat real food. There's even on the website, you can look up by food. It'll tell you what good proteins are, what good carbohydrates are. It's taking the guesswork out of a lot of it. You've got to take it serious, and it can't be, well, I just don't know what to eat. We're past that point. We're past that point of not knowing anymore. There's too much information out there. Now it just becomes a matter of caring and effort.
Let me see if I can take us home here. Thank you for being patient. I hope we hadn't lost you there. We're a little long. The eating right thing, there's plenty of ways to calculate your calories in, calories out, and then eating the right things to get your calories. If you just don't know how to do that and don't know how to find it, let me know. I can help you with some of that. He can help you with some of that. There's some things that I've looked at a lot of stuff. Listen to me very carefully. We were not made to be sedentary creatures. Okay? And when I mean exercise, I don't mean at work. Well, I'm at work all day. That's not the same as exercise. Getting the heart rate up to some type of sustained level and picking weights up is not the same as being at work all day, picking some things up and walking around. Those are two different things. So when you combine the calories and the macros within the calories, like your protein and carbohydrates that he's mentioned, you need to set aside 3 to 4 days a week to where you lift some type of weights. Yes, ladies, I'm talking to you. Okay? We have a generation now of people, and I'm not talking about age-wise, that to lose weight, they want to do everything in the world except the most scientifically proven thing that will help you in longevity and stability in your life, and that is lifting weights. Well, I don't want to get bulky. Ladies, I'm trying to get bulky. And I can't hardly do it. All right? You're not going to accidentally get bulky. It is. You're going to need, when you get older, your core is going to be strengthened. You're going to be less fall risk. When you're less fall risk, you're less likely to break your hip. When you're 75 years old, you're not going to end up I'm just telling. Like, there's a million examples. Well, I don't know how to work out. There's too many plans for that too. But I'm going to do this, and he doesn't know that I'm going to go this deep. This is our new health and safety pastor at the sanctuary. Health and fitness, not health and safety. That too. And I'm not kidding. Now, I don't know if a church has ever had that before, but bless God, this has got one. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I just don't want you happy with where you are in life. I want you to feel good while you're there. This man right here, this man's running the gym. Most of you need to be there tomorrow. I hope they all show up at one time, and that's your problem, not mine. Well, I know what they do there. Don't let your ego get in the way. I need to lose some weight before I go to a gym. That's like people saying they got to get their life together before they go to church. You don't get your life together before you go to church. You go to church to get your life together. Get in there and pick something up. Oh, but it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. How about we break the cycle of just trying to find the most comfortable thing to do all the time for the least results? I'm all for some of the shots. I'm all for some of the peptides. I'm all for some of the supplements. I'm playing with some of it right now. I make no bones about it. But you can't start there trying to get the easy way out. Go do something. And then add that. Is that too harsh? No, sir. Would you have said otherwise? Maybe. We were made to, muscle is life. It's not for looks. Muscle, it is scientifically proven that the more muscle you have, the longer you will live. It is a fact. Ladies, you're not going to look like a man walking around unless you start running some serious gear. And if you do that, we'll talk. That's not going to happen. Okay? You're going to get toned. You're going to feel better. Your hormones, if you need help, are going to come in. If you don't need help, they're going to come into better alignment. If you need help, go get them fixed. Men, it's the exact same way. There's a better life out there. You don't have to walk around like a zombie all the time. Don't raise your hand. How many of you are just miserable? I just feel miserable. Don't raise your hand. I'm telling you right now, it's going to go back to your diet 95% of the time. And if you want to fix metabolic syndrome and you want to fix insulin resistance, build muscle. Muscle will repair all of that. It'll turn you into a furnace. And then you can have an extra piece of cake. You literally earn.
Yep, that's right. So again, just some quick, simple guidance. I'd love for you all to be there at 5 a.m. in the morning. Also got a 6:15 class, 4:30, 5:45. Got several options for you. But if you're trying to figure out where do I go from here, simple things. Minimize how much sugar you take in. I don't care. Minimize it. You don't have to eliminate. Eliminate it would be great. I'm not going to eliminate it. I like sugar. I try to minimize it when I can. So minimize sugar. Second thing, get you those apps that tell you what's in some of that food. Write down your favorite food. Spend a week or two and just start writing down some things that you eat all the time. And go back and look at those foods and say, man, I really need to eliminate these 3, whatever that might be. If you're not introducing real foods, good proteins, chicken, steak, good fish, good proteins, if you're not taking in a good amount of protein every day, men and women, you need to. Figure out what proteins you like and start introducing those into your daily diet. You need protein. Brother Adrian said it, lean muscle mass and when it comes to longevity, lean muscle mass and your VO2 max are the 2 prime indicators of quality life in our later years. So if I'm muscular and strong, I can do things. I can sit down, stand up. I can pick things up off the ground. I can reach over my head, grab things. Anybody who has had to take care of an older parent, grandparent, some of those things start leaving us as we get older. Get as strong as you can. Pick weights up. Get as strong as you can. Wherever that's at for you. So VO2 max is, so that's the strength side of it. VO2 max is your cardiovascular functioning. How can I run for 15, 20 minutes? Can I walk briskly for 15, 20 minutes? Can I get my heart rate elevated to 75, 80%? Yeah, there's some we're going to work on since I'm the new health and fitness preacher. So so VO2 max, again, is your cardiovascular health. How much oxygen I can take in my system as I do work. So lifting heavy weights and a little cardio. It ain't got to be nothing crazy. I do love the ruck. If you put a weighted vest on, walk a few miles, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, gradually increase. You need good shoes. You need good clothes. I hear that a lot. Well, I tried rucking yesterday when I got off work. Well, I had on my work shoes and long pants. And I hated rucking, man. Well, you had on the wrong clothes. Be smart with it. Good shoes, good clothes. Be comfortable when you do it. But there's very simple things. If you're not doing anything right now, if you're completely sedentary, whether it be because of your job or whatever the reason, try to start including a little bit of movement. Don't make your goals so crazy that a couple of days into it, you get frustrated and say, I can't keep up with this. I don't recommend, unless you're preparing for something, I don't recommend having to break down all your protein and carbs and am I getting all these weights and percentage. It stresses people out to have to weigh food and all that stuff. Eat good food, as much of it as you want. Good proteins, good fruits and vegetables. Eat good food and drink water. All right? I know that people, man, I hate water. I'm drinking sweet tea. Is that good enough? I'm getting a little water from there. Yeah, you're getting a lot of sugar from there. So the water's great, but you're still getting a lot of sugar. So water. You need drink water. Water, good proteins, good fruits and vegetables, and move a little bit and eliminating some of the trash that we're eating. And I'm telling you, within a matter of days and weeks, you will start feeling better. That's how we're made. That's how God made us. We're ruining the whole thing by how we're eating, being lazy, whatever the case may be. And they're killing us, and they're sitting back and watching. I have people all the time tell me, I just don't have time. All right? This weekend, did you binge watch about 8 series of shows on Netflix? Did you sit on your phone and scroll through social media for 2 or 3 hours? That weekly report that you get on your phone, I know most of you get it, like on Sundays, and it says you spent 9 hours on your phone this week. Why not spend 3 hours of that exercising? So don't give me that I don't have time. You'll make time for what's important for you, period. Wherever your priorities are, you will make time for it. So I don't buy that excuse. But don't make it a daunting task. Small baby steps, get started on it, and I'm telling you, you'll start feeling better, then you'll start wanting to do more. It works. I see it all the time.
Balance. Look, I can stay here all night here. We got to be done. I shudder to do this, but if you want to be dismissed, you can go. But if you have any questions, while we're still in session, say them out loud. If you have any questions when we're out of session, just go see him. I'm kidding. We'll take any question. But anybody got a question that they want to ask out loud? Once, twice. Sister Deb. Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. So the fasting line goes back to our fasting session that we had here, to where I even put the food pyramid in it the first time. And it's also a decalcifying of the pineal gland, which takes us to the spirit world aspect of fasting. And yes, fasting has some huge benefits in the natural world. So to pair tonight, go listen to the fasting and the pine cone episode. Yes, the pine cone. I said that on purpose. And pair those two together, and you'll see how fasting goes hand in hand with this journey as well. Yes, we are to fast. Spot on, Sister Deb. Tonight is what we need to eat when we eat. But fasting is indeed, it is also, but listen, you can't start any type of program and not feed your body, because if you tell your body that you're starving it, it will stop burning fat and go into starvation mode. So you got to eat. That's why we're talking about our food. You got to eat. You got to eat what you're supposed to eat. 75% of the time, start slow. Balance, balance, balance. Anything else? Steph? Yeah, I didn't say that. He did. I didn't say, you ain't hear me say nothing about vegetables and fruit. He did. There's a place for them. A lot of people just say wash them. There's some ways to Google. There's some ways to, and some things you can put in there. I think salt or something like that that will clean that off. But there's some ways to fix that. Totally get it. Totally understand it. I'm more of a meat, eggs, and I like to get my carbs from rice and things that grow out of the ground. Potatoes and sweet potatoes. I'm not much on the vegetable part of it, but they're not bad for you. They're not as good as they've been told they are for you, though, either. Yeah, if God made it, just might have to wash it. But, if it's a God-made food. There's a lot tied up in this. There's a lot tied up in this. I just need you to see it spiritually. A lot of iron, there's a lot of truth, a lot of nutrient dense food there. But I don't want to get into remedies too much or all of that. I would just, any questions about what? Yes, ma'am, sister. I think that's fair, but I think it's fair, and I'll let David elaborate on it. But before I do, I'll say this: that of course those special occasions, Thanksgiving and stuff, that I think that's part of the 25%. But as far as our day-to-day lives, when we don't have the weddings and we don't have the funerals and we don't have the new babies and all that, just that day-to-day Monday, daylight to dark, that discipline to hold the line, and then if we have a potluck here at the church, we're going
for them. They're going to eat on it for 4 or 5 days. That is what it is. If I attend an event and I'm trying to be social and there's food everywhere, I still have to have the self-control and self-discipline to eat what's appropriate, to eat a balance, minimize how much I sit. I don't want to be gluttonous and I don't want to gorge myself. So yeah, there are going to be times where it is what it is. But if you go back to the 75-25 or the 80-20 percentage, can I eat as good as I can for 75% of the time? And if my way of showing love to a family is to take them a big high-calorie trash casserole, and I know it's that way, let me look at other options. Let me look at other healthier options that would, so I can still take them food, but let me change the kind of food I'm taking them and provide something more on the healthier lines. A lot of people who try to meal prep and eat clean catch a lot of crap by the guy sitting there eating Pop-Tarts and tater chips. Man, why you worry about all that junk? So some of that's starting to change. You're starting to see more people meal prep. You're starting to see more people actually be intentional with how they eat and what they eat. It's not easy, but you just got to be intentional. And if there's some things you're doing right now that you know are bad for you nutrition-wise, start making those changes. Yeah, and keep your eye on the spiritual battle piece of it, and realize that if this is destroying me, it's from the dark. If it's making me healthy and keeping me healthy, it's from the light. If you can try to keep that line. What else? It's good questions, good statements. Yeah, if you need to go, you can go. If anybody's got any other questions or any other comments, those are great comments, great statements. Real quick on the fasting, Ms. Deborah, thank you for that. So if you fast, if you're fasting because you want to be closer to God, or if you're fasting because it's purely a physical approach. If you're fasting because you want to be closer to God, that has to be intentional as well. I'm going to fast. This is how many hours I'm fasting, and I'm going to read my Bible, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to get closer to spirit-wise to the Lord. Not just fast and sit there. Man, I don't know what all this fasting's cut out to be. I ain't ate for 4 days. I ain't seen God yet. You have to be intentional with the fasting. If you're going to fast for spiritual reasons, it's got to be a relationship with God. It's got to be prayer. It's got to be scripture. If you want to fast for 12 hours, 24 hours, because you want to let your body start cleaning some stuff out, there's a reason to fast physically as well. If you want to tie the two together, that's what I'd recommend. If I'm going to fast for physical reasons, it's a great opportunity to get closer to God. Use it for that. Whatever that looks like, 5 hours, 10 hours. Most of the research says that you don't really see results until, you want a minimum of 16 hours, but you're really going to see results closer to 72. So I know that sounds like a lot, but that first day is usually the hardest. Once you get past that first day, it gets easier. And then you'll start feeling better, because your body, as we talked about, the Old Testament supernatural body that God gave us, starts healing itself. You get all that stuff out, all the chemicals and additives and just junk that we keep eating will start leaving your body, and your body starts cleaning itself out. The temple starts sweeping the floors. And that's how you got to approach it on the fasting side.
I can help you. We're done. I help you any way I can. I can get you started. I can get you down the road pretty good with testimony and results, and with information from calories to macros to working out. He can get you down the road farther. If you just need some help on how to start, I'm here. If you don't need no help and you know how to do it, get to it. But whatever you do, that you could lose a little weight. But because somebody looked around and saw this from a spirit world point of view and not just a physical point of view. That's my heart's desire, is for you to see this journey in the spirit world first. And then it will indeed translate over into your life and into your children. I love you. God bless. You're dismissed in Jesus' name.